This is a story of the most daring train heist of the Civil War. The Great Locomotive Chase of 1862. This is a wild and completely true Civil War story involving spies, stolen trains, flaming boxcars, high-speed chases, and one of the most daring sabotage missions ever attempted on American soil. In the spring of 1862, the Union desperately needed a way to cripple the Confederate Army's supply routes in Georgia. A civilian spy named James J. Andrews proposed a bold plan: sneak deep behind enemy lines, steal a locomotive, and destroy railroad tracks, bridges, and telegraph lines all the way back toward Union territory. 22 Union soldiers volunteered for the mission. They disguised themselves as Southern civilians, traveling separately through Confederate territory, risky an execution if caught. On the morning of April 12, 1862, at the small depot in Big Shanty, Georgia, Andrews' men quietly climbed aboard a locomotive named the General. The crew stepped off for breakfast, and in less than a minute, the Union raiders threw the throttle forward and stole the train right out of the station. And that's when everything went wrong. The chase begins. What Andrews didn't know was that the train's conductor, William Fuller, was one of the most relentless men in the Confederacy. When he saw his locomotive disappearing into the distance, Fuller didn't freeze. He started sprinting down the tracks after it, literally running for 2 miles. Then he commandeered a handcar, those little pump carts you see in old movies, and raced north, pumping furiously down the tracks with 2 other men. Meanwhile, Andrews and his raiders stopped repeatedly on their stolen engine, tearing up the rails and cutting telegraph wires, trying to cripple the line behind them. Their plan almost worked, but they didn't know Fuller was still gaining. After miles of chasing on foot and handcar, Fuller reached a small station and grabbed another locomotive, the Yonah. Now the chase was on. Fuller's train thundered north. Andrews, hearing the whistle behind him, realized something no one expected. The Confederates were chasing them with another train. Andrews began pushing the General harder and harder. He uncoupled cars to slow the pursuit. Fuller plowed through or around every obstacle. Confederate trackmen scrambled onto the rails to repair the damage almost as fast as Andrews' men tore it up. In a last desperate attempt, the Union raiders lit one of the boxcars on fire and kicked it loose, sending a flaming car rolling toward Fuller's engine. Fuller ordered full steam ahead. He rammed through the burning car as sparks rained around him. But the General was running out of fuel. Andrews' men threw wood, fence posts, even railroad ties into the firebox, anything to keep the boiler alive. But nothing worked. By early afternoon, the engine wheezed, slowed, and finally died in the middle of the forest. One by one, Andrews and his men jumped off and scattered into the trees. They were all captured within days. The aftermath aided the raiders, including Andrews, were executed by Confederate authorities as spies. The remaining men were later exchanged and returned to Union lines. When the Medal of Honor was created in 1863, the survivors of the Great Locomotive Chase were the first soldiers ever to receive it. To this day, the General, yes, the same locomotive, is preserved in a museum in Georgia. And the story remains one of the most astonishing, true adventures of the Civil War. A spy mission, a stolen train, a relentless pursuit, and a high-speed race through enemy territory that feels more like a movie than real life.